I've stressed a lot on this channel about getting ready, getting prepared. You can do simple things like just getting food, getting water, and getting flashlights and batteries for any type of situation. The bare bones, basic minimum stuff. You don't need to go out there and go crazy and buy all these prepper tools and these $1,500, $4,000 tents that can fit a whole classroom. You don't need to do any of that stuff. You just need to have something that's there for you. The reality of this is, if we really got into a situation to where all those prepper things, to prepare for doomsday, if we got into that situation, they're probably not going to save you. People will go buck wild, and the first chance they can get, they will rob you. But what you can do is get yourself prepared for short-term survival. That's the most logical scenario. Now, if we get into that long-term, decades-long SHTF, it's all over, well, we'll have to figure it out from there. I don't think anybody can have enough stuff to be prepared for that to last that entirety. I mean, unless you're maybe a billionaire that has a bunker that can, has enough food and supplies to last for your entire life, 80 years or so. Outside of that, what you can do is be prepared for what's happening now and what's about to happen in Florida. Okay? Now, I've been telling people on this channel for the last couple of days, but more importantly on my other channel, about just being prepared. Now, if you waited until now and you didn't do anything, you're at the stores in Tampa right now, unable to get water, unable to get certain food products. In the next couple of days, there might not be anything left. Tampa is a very weird situation where they don't get hit by hurricanes often, but the slope of their beach, it's really odd to where it doesn't take much of a storm surge for a large portion of Tampa to just go completely underwater. And water is what you have to really be worried about with hurricanes. It's not really the wind. I mean, you can have a hurricane that has winds high enough to destroy a lot of stuff, but for the most part, it's always the water that you got to worry about. Water is what moves mountains, not wind. But if you would have been buying last week, the week before, the week before, the week before, you wouldn't even have to worry about this. If a hurricane was coming to my house that was going to be here tomorrow, I wouldn't even be concerned with it. I've already got the stuff. And this is the mentality that you have to have. It doesn't just apply to financial markets. It's the mentality of doing the opposite of what the majority is doing. If everyone is in a period of calm and no one is prepping and no one is concerned about what may be coming in the future, that is when you plan. If everybody is buying a particular stock, the majority of people are all FOMOing in, that's when you sell. It applies to almost every area of life. Because if you wait till the last minute where everyone else is doing it, it becomes a problem. And then you can't get the water. You can't get the can of tuna. You can't get the bag of rice. You have to do all that stuff in advance. You have to do it when no one else is doing it. You get it at better prices and you can get more of it. So please take heed and get the small things first. Okay? Flashlights, batteries, and then if you have the money, then you can move into the other stuff. Solar generators, which is essentially just a big battery power bank with solar panels. Generators with a good amount of gasoline or propane stored, whatever you're using as a fuel source. All that big stuff comes later. The tool sets, the chainsaws, the backhoe, so you can make dugouts to store your food, and all that stuff comes later. First, you need to just have food supplies. You need to have, hopefully, backpacks that you can put it in if you have to bug out. Maybe some pew-pews for protection. And most importantly, you need to learn how to treat wounds in the field. Now, you can download stuff on your phones that are awesome PDFs to so you can go back and reference all that stuff. But then you have to think, well, what if there's a solar flare? What if there's an EMP? What if the power's out so long and I can't find power and I can't turn my device on? So then you might want to have a 3-ring binder with all this stuff in it so you can just quickly reference back to it. Okay, what do I do in case of a snake bite? What do I do in case of a leg wound? What do I do in case of, whatever it is? And you have it right there on hand. And it wouldn't hurt to learn that stuff so you don't have to reference everything else, but it is what it is. I'll post links to a lot of this stuff in the future. I'm currently trying to build the knowledge that I already have when it was survival and prepping and all that stuff to share to you guys. But there's not really a whole lot that you need from me for that, because there's so many channels on YouTube that have already done that. I'm not an expert prepper here. I spent almost a decade in the military, and I've got my own living experience from being in the South. I just want to be here breaking news for you guys. That's what I'm here for. It just so happens that my secondary message is make sure you're ready, because it's important. Plus, we have a lot of refineries and food manufacturers blowing up mysteriously for no reason. We have no idea what it is. Might be a reset or something. I don't know. Okay, so let's get into this forecast coming up. So the GFS model, the American GFS model, has landfall at Tampa. Looks like Thursday early morning, and then we're going to go up to Georgia. Now, Georgia's not going to get a lot of wind because Tampa's going to take the brunt of that, all in Florida. But I want you guys to know something, and that's we have a cold air mass coming down to this region. There's a cold front coming down, which is actually what pushed this hurricane to go east instead of straight up. Now, when the remnants of this hurricane gets up into Georgia and it meets this cold air mass, there is a huge potential in southern Georgia and mid Georgia for tornadoes, and could possibly even extend up to Atlanta. So I'm gonna take that off the screen and put my face on the screen. It is extremely important, if you're in Georgia, to get yourself ready for the potentiality of tornadoes. Just be aware that may happen. That's the GFS model, so let's move back a little bit. Let's see what the European model says. It's probably going to be pretty close to the same, because the closer you get to an event, the more divergence you get. I mean, I said divergence, but that's not what I meant. Convergence. All right, anyways, check it out. Let's see, European model looks like same thing. Early Thursday, going into Tampa. Okay. Let's go to our icon, see what that says. All right, give that just a second to load a little bit. There's a lot of people using this site, so it's kind of slow right now. Everybody's trying to get their predictions in. Looks like the icon has it maybe hitting a little bit further south than Tampa, so maybe Fort Myers instead of Tampa. Yeah, too hard to tell right now. And the icon actually has it going offshore and missing Georgia. So we might not have any problems in Georgia, but just in case the GFS model is right, you need to get yourself prepared in Georgia as well. Greenland gained more record snow and ice over the weekend. Imagine that. Strange, isn't it? You can look at the chart right here. Greenland loses ice for a very short period of time during the year, and it gains it for the majority of the year. But that's not why I wanted to read that. Why I wanted to read this is because Australia is deindustrializing, doing a Europe, even though its temperature data set shows no change. So we're seeing this wave of stupidity across the world where people are getting rid of energy sources that work, especially nuclear, because it doesn't have any waste. There's nothing it's just water vapor. All the dangerous stuff gets trapped. And I believe it was Belgium just a couple of days ago. They turned off one of their nuclear power plants, even though they didn't want to do it, and the people in the government didn't want to do it. It was just something that had been agreed to in the past for that date for it to be turned off. So guess what? Got turned off. So now people in Europe are going to freeze, and shortly in the future, people in Australia are not going to have power. I can't stress enough to get prepped. Honestly, I can't stress enough to get prepped. Moving along, space weather, there's not really anything. The sunspot's facing us, but we didn't really get any punches. No CMEs, nothing really to report there. Earthquakes, nothing big going on. I mean, there's a lot of small rumblers, and there's been some in Alaska and California, but for the most part, we're all good around the world. Lastly, just in case you don't think what I was saying at the beginning of the video is true, you can see here, all up and down the list, it's happening in Tampa. So, in conclusion, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, get ready, prep plan. Don't think that when the emergency comes that you're just going to be able to go off grid and take a couple of seeds that you have and put them in dirt. Might be a surprise to you that a lot of places around the world, the dirt is really poor and the soil quality, and it's hard to grow stuff unless you know what you're doing. So take time to learn, do your own research, and then watch videos, and ask experts. Okay, love each and every one of you. I will see you in the next video.